Maya Rodriguez pushed through the glass door of Cosmic Grounds Cafe. The little bell above her head chimed softly. She breathed in the familiar smell of coffee beans and alien spices. This was her favorite place on the whole campus. The cafe buzzed with voices from many different species. Maya heard the musical tones of Zentorians talking about their crystal art. Two Keith traders argued over shipping costs in their clicking language. A Vorthan diplomat spoke quietly into his communication device. Maya moved slowly through the cafe. Her white cane tapped against chairs and table legs. She had been blind since birth, but she knew this place well. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she came here between her classes. Always the same routine, always the same corner booth. Her small AI companion Compass spoke softly in her ear. "Your usual table is free, Maya. 3 steps forward, then turn left." Maya smiled and made her way to the corner. She loved this spot because she could hear everything but stay out of the way. The booth was worn and comfortable. She had spent many hours here reading her textbooks with her fingers and writing papers on her voice recorder. She ordered her usual vanilla latte from Katie, the human barista who always remembered her name. Then Maya settled in with her homework. She was studying advanced xenoliterature, learning about stories from across the galaxy. Today she had to write about dragon myths from different worlds. Maya pulled out her stylus and tablet. The device would speak the words back to her as she wrote. She was deep in thought about ancient dragon legends when she heard something new. Heavy footsteps entered the cafe. These were different from the usual sounds. Each step was careful and strong. Something scraped against the metal floor. It sounded like claws. The breathing was deep and slow, almost like a quiet rumble. Most strange of all, the other customers suddenly went quiet. Their conversations dropped to whispers. Maya could feel tension in the air. The newcomer walked past her table. The footsteps stopped at the booth right behind hers. Maya heard the creak of reinforced furniture, the kind used for larger alien species. A strange scent reached her nose. It smelled like lightning and old stone mixed together. Maya tried to focus on her work, but she kept hearing soft, sad humming from behind her. The melody was beautiful but lonely. It made her heart ache for whoever was sitting there. She was writing about dragon courage when her stylus slipped from her fingers. It rolled across the floor with a soft clicking sound. Maya sighed and got down on her hands and knees to find it. She felt around under the tables. Her hand brushed against something warm and covered in scales. Instead of pulling back in fear, Maya simply said, "Excuse me, I think my stylus rolled over by you. I'm blind, so I have to feel around to find things." A deep voice answered her. It was careful and precise, like someone who was not used to casual talk. "Your writing tool is here, small human. I will give it back to you." Something large and warm placed the stylus gently in Maya's hand. She noticed the voice carried deep sadness. It reminded her of her own lonely days when people avoided her or treated her like she was broken. "Thank you so much," Maya said warmly. She sat back in her booth but turned toward the voice. "I'm Maya. I hope you don't mind me asking, but what are you drinking? The baristas here make amazing things, but sometimes the menu doesn't really tell you how stuff tastes." There was a long pause. Maya wondered if she had said something wrong. Finally, the deep voice replied, "I am Drek. I ordered something called Mountain Thunder Tea. The server said it would suit my preferences." Maya laughed. "Oh, that's perfect for a first visit. It's got this smoky flavor that reminds you of campfires and storms. Katie probably picked it because she's really good at matching drinks to people. What do you think of it?" "It is acceptable," Drax said. Maya could hear surprise in his voice, as if he was not used to people asking his opinion about small things. "Just acceptable? That's Katie's specialty drink. She'll be heartbroken," Maya teased gently. "Maybe you need something sweeter." "Have you tried Earth coffee before?" "I have not spent much time with human beverages," Drac admitted. Maya found herself settling into an easy conversation. She explained different coffee types and how they tasted. Drac listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. His voice began to sound less lonely as they talked. "You seem to know this place very well," Drac observed. "I come here twice a week," Maya explained. "It's quiet enough for me to study, but not so quiet that I feel isolated. Plus, Katie makes the best vanilla lattes in the sector. I'm studying xenoliterature at the university. Today I'm working on dragon myths from different cultures." "Dragon myths," Drac repeated. His voice carried a strange tone. "What have you learned about dragons?" Maya leaned back in her booth, getting comfortable. "Well, it's fascinating how every species has dragon stories, but they're all different. Some dragons are wise protectors. Others are fierce warriors. Some are magical beings who live forever, but they all seem to represent power and mystery. And what do you think of such beings? Drac asked quietly. Maya considered the question seriously. I think they must be very lonely. All that power, all those years of living, and everyone either fears them or wants something from them. It would be hard to have real friends when people see you as a legend instead of a person. The silence from behind her stretched for a long time. Maya wondered if she had said something wrong again. When Drac finally spoke, his voice was even softer than before. That is a thoughtful perspective, Maya Rodriguez. Just Maya is fine, she said with a smile. And I should probably get back to this paper. But maybe we'll run into each other again. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday around this time. Perhaps, Drac said. I found this conversation pleasant. Maya gathered her things and stood up. As she tapped her way toward the door with her cane, she called back, Next time, try the chocolate mocha. Trust me on this one. She heard what might have been a chuckle from the booth behind her. Outside, Maya walked slowly back toward the university buildings. She could not shake the feeling that she had just met someone very important. There had been something special about Drac's voice, something that suggested deep wisdom and even deeper loneliness. Maya had always been good at reading people through their voices. Growing up blind had taught her to listen for things others missed, and everything about Drac's voice told her he was someone who needed a friend. She decided she would definitely come back on Thursday. Maybe she could convince him to try that chocolate mocha. Thursday came, and Maya found herself looking forward to her cafe visit more than usual. She arrived at Cosmic Grounds at her normal time and settled into her corner booth. She ordered her vanilla latte and pulled out her homework, but kept listening for familiar heavy footsteps. Drac arrived 20 minutes later. Maya heard the same careful steps and the scrape of claws on metal. Other customers still grew quiet when he entered, but Maya smiled toward his booth. Did you try the chocolate mocha? She called out softly. I did, came the deep voice. It was better than acceptable. Maya laughed. High praise from you, I can tell. Katie will be thrilled. Over the next few weeks, their routine became natural. Maya would arrive first and get settled with her studies. Drac would come later and order his drink. They would talk across the space between their booths, never turning to face each other directly. Maya learned that Drac was incredibly smart. He seemed to know about every world in the galaxy. When she struggled with a paper comparing creation myths, Drac explained stories from dozens of different planets. His knowledge was detailed and personal, as if he had been there himself. You really know a lot about everything, Maya said one afternoon. What do you do for work? There was a pause. I manage certain duties. Territory management, you could say. It requires much travel. Maya accepted this vague answer. She had learned that Drac was private about personal things. Instead, she shared stories about her own life. She told him about growing up blind, about her love for literature, about her dream of becoming a xenoanthropologist. People don't always know how to act around me, Maya explained. Some think I'm helpless. Others act like I'm some kind of miracle just for living a normal life. Both attitudes get old pretty fast. Drac listened with careful attention. Your species interests me greatly, he said. Humans seem to adapt to challenges in ways that make them stronger. You hear more truth in voices than most beings see with their eyes. Maybe because I have to, Maya replied. When you can't judge by appearances, you learn to listen for what's really there. Like right now, you sound tired. Not body tired, but soul tired. Like you carry something heavy that you can never put down. Drac went silent for several minutes. Maya wondered if she had pushed too hard. Finally, he spoke. Few understand such burdens. I might not understand your exact situation, but I know what it's like when people see a symbol instead of a person. For me, it's either brave disabled girl or poor blind thing. They put their own feelings on you and forget you're just trying to live your life. Their conversations grew deeper each week. Drac began to share more, though he spoke in careful metaphors. He talked about inherited duties and responsibilities that span generations. He mentioned being born into a role that came with great authority, but little freedom. Sounds lonely, Maya said simply. being responsible for everyone else all the time, never getting to just be yourself. Most do not see it that way, Drac admitted. Maya worked on her assignments while they talked. Drac often helped without being asked. When she had trouble understanding Vorthan poetry, he explained the cultural background. When she wrote about galactic trade routes, he provided details that weren't in any textbook. "How do you know so much about politics?" Maya asked one day. "My work brings me into contact with many governmental systems," Drac said carefully. Maya was writing a paper about leadership when she made a comment that surprised them both. "The Dragon Emperor must be incredibly isolated," she said thoughtfully. "Think about it. He's lived for thousands of years, rules half the galaxy, and his own people think he's almost a god. How could anyone relate to him as just a person? He probably hasn't had a real conversation with someone who wasn't scared of him in centuries." The silence from Drac's booth lasted so long that Maya wondered if he had left. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "You think such understanding is possible, even for someone so removed from ordinary life?" "Everyone needs to be seen for who they really are, not just what they represent," Maya said firmly. "Even emperors, especially emperors maybe. They're still people underneath all that power and responsibility." Maya heard something that might have been a sharp intake of breath. Their friendship continued to grow. Maya helped Drac remember how to laugh, how to discuss ideas for pure joy, how to be appreciated for his thoughts rather than feared for his position. Drac gave Maya insights that revolutionized her academic work, though she never knew the true source of his knowledge. They talked about books and philosophy. Maya shared her favorite human authors. Drac introduced her to poetry from worlds she had never heard of. They debated ethics and governance, power and responsibility. "I've been thinking about what makes a good leader," Maya said during one of their conversations. "I think it's not just intelligence or strength. It's the ability to remember what it feels like to be ordinary, to understand the fears and hopes of regular people." "And if a leader has been in power so long that they have forgotten?" Drac asked. "Then they need someone to remind them," Maya said. "Someone who isn't afraid to tell them the truth, even when it's uncomfortable." Drac made a sound that might have been agreement or surprise. Katie the barista had gotten used to their routine. She would bring Maya's latte to her booth and Drac's tea to his, never commenting on the unusual friendship. Sometimes Maya caught her smiling when she heard them laughing together. Other customers had also adjusted to Drac's presence. The initial fear had faded into curious acceptance. Maya noticed that conversations no longer stopped when he entered, though voices still carried a note of respect. "People are getting used to you," Maya observed one afternoon. "It is strange," Drac admitted. "I'm not accustomed to such casual acceptance." "Maybe you just needed the right introduction," Maya said. "Fear usually comes from not understanding. Once people see you're not here to hurt anyone, they relax." "You were not afraid from the beginning," Drac noted. Maya shrugged. "Being blind teaches you that appearances can be deceiving. I learned to trust voices and actions, not assumptions. Your voice told me you were sad and lonely, not dangerous." "And now?" Drac asked quietly. Maya smiled toward his booth. "Now your voice tells me you're my friend." She heard what she was sure was a pleased rumble from behind her. As weeks turned into months, both Maya and Drac began to look forward to their cafe meetings as the best part of their routines. For Maya, it was a chance to discuss ideas with someone who truly understood complex concepts. For Drac, it was the only time he could simply be himself without the weight of expectation or fear. Neither of them realized how much their friendship was about to change everything. As autumn arrived on the university world, Maya and Drac's friendship deepened beyond casual conversation. They had been meeting for 3 months now, and Maya found herself sharing things she rarely told anyone else. "My family means well," Maya explained one Thursday afternoon. "But sometimes I feel like they see my blindness before they see me. My mother still tries to cut my food when I visit home. My father insists on holding my arm everywhere we go, even though I've been navigating on my own for years." Drac listened with the careful attention she had come to value. "They act from love, but their care becomes another form of prison," he observed. "Exactly," Maya said, surprised by his understanding. How do you know that feeling? There was a long pause. I too have those who care for me in ways that limit my freedom. They believe they know what is best, what is safe, what is proper. Their good intentions become chains. Maya heard pain in his voice that went deeper than her own family troubles. That sounds much worse than overprotective parents. Perhaps, Drac said quietly, though the principle remains the same. When others define your capabilities and boundaries, you begin to lose sight of who you truly are. Their conversations had grown more personal over the weeks. Drac spoke carefully about his past, always in metaphors and vague terms. He mentioned ancient obligations and inherited burdens. He talked about being born into expectations that left little room for personal choice. Maya began to piece together that Drac came from some kind of important family, probably nobility or high government. His knowledge of politics and culture suggested someone with access to classified information. His way of speaking, formal yet kind, reminded her of diplomats she had met at university functions. "You sound like you've never had a choice about your life path," Maya said one day. "Choice is a luxury for those not born to duty," Drac replied. "Some paths are set before birth, carved by tradition and necessity." "That's terrible," Maya said firmly. "Everyone deserves the right to choose their own life, even if they ultimately decide to follow the path others wanted for them." "You speak of ideals," Drac said, but his tone was gentle, not dismissive. "I speak of basic dignity," Maya countered. "My professors used to assume I would study something appropriate for a blind person. Literature or music therapy, maybe massage. They were shocked when I chose xenoanthropology. Some actually tried to talk me out of it, said it was too difficult, too dangerous, and yet you persisted." "Of course I did. It's my life, my choice. If I fail, that's on me. But at least I'll fail doing something I love, not something someone else picked for me." Maya heard what sounded like a wistful sigh from Drac's booth. "Your courage inspires me, Maya Rodriguez. You fight for your autonomy against those who would limit you out of concern. That requires great strength." "It's not courage," Maya said. "It's stubbornness." "There's a difference." Drac's laughter rumbled through the cafe. "Perhaps the galaxy needs more stubborn humans then." Their philosophical discussions often lasted for hours. Maya would finish her homework early just to have more time to talk. Drac seemed to have unlimited time available, which supported her theory that he was probably from a wealthy family. One afternoon, Maya was struggling with a particularly complex assignment about power structures in multi-species governments. The professor had asked them to analyze how different forms of leadership affected citizen loyalty and social stability. "I just don't understand how absolute monarchy can work in modern galactic society," Maya said, frustrated. "How can billions of people accept rule by one person? It seems so outdated." "Consider the alternative," Drac said thoughtfully. "Democracy works well for small populations with similar values. But across hundreds of worlds with thousands of different species and cultures, how do you find consensus? How do you make decisions quickly when threats arise?" "You have fair representation," Maya argued. "You create systems where everyone has a voice. And when the voices number in the trillions, when cultural differences make compromise impossible, when enemies move faster than democratic processes can respond." Maya fell silent, thinking. Drac continued, his voice taking on a tone of careful explanation. "Imagine, if you will, a ruler who has lived long enough to understand the deep patterns of history, who has the memory to see how decisions ripple across centuries, who can act swiftly when needed, but also has the wisdom to know when patience serves better than action." "You're talking about the Dragon Emperor," Maya realized. "I speak theoretically," Drac said quickly. "Right, theoretically," Maya agreed, though she heard something odd in his tone. But even if such a ruler existed, how would they stay connected to their people? How would they understand the daily struggles of ordinary citizens when they live in isolation and luxury? The silence stretched longer than usual. When Drac spoke again, his voice was barely audible. Perhaps such a ruler would need someone to remind them, someone who could speak truth without fear or agenda. Someone who wasn't impressed by titles or power, Maya added. Someone who saw them as a person first. "Yes," Drac whispered. "Exactly that." Maya felt like they were dancing around something important, but she couldn't quite grasp what it was. Instead, she focused on her paper, using their discussion to craft an analysis that impressed even her demanding professor. As the weeks passed, Maya noticed changes in Drac. His voice carried less sadness and more warmth. He laughed more often at her stories about campus life. Sometimes she caught him humming happily while he waited for her to arrive. "You seem different," Maya observed one afternoon. "Lighter, somehow. Your friendship has been healing," Drac admitted. "I had forgotten what it felt like to speak freely, to be heard without judgment." "Everyone needs that," Maya said. "No matter who they are or what responsibilities they carry. We all need at least one person who sees us as just ourselves." Maya also found herself changing. Drac's insights challenged her thinking and broadened her perspective. His gentle questions helped her examine her own assumptions about power, duty, and sacrifice. "I used to think all authority was bad," Maya confessed one day. "But talking with you has made me realize that someone has to make the hard decisions. Someone has to carry the weight of consequences. Power corrupts," Drac said, "but the absence of power also brings suffering. The key is finding those rare individuals who can hold authority without losing their humanity." "Is that even possible?" Maya asked. Drac was quiet for a long moment. "I hope so," he said finally. "I have to hope so." Their friendship had become the anchor point for both of their weeks. Maya rearranged her schedule to make sure she never missed their Tuesday and Thursday meetings. Drac, she noticed, was always there waiting when she arrived, suggesting he had done the same. Katie, the barista, had begun automatically preparing their usual orders when she saw either of them enter. The other regular customers nodded politely to both Maya and the mysterious figure in the back booth. Maya felt blessed to have found such an unlikely friendship. Drac was the most intelligent person she had ever met, yet he listened to her opinions with genuine respect. He was clearly from a very different world than hers, yet he understood her struggles with remarkable empathy. She had no idea that her simple acceptance and honest friendship were transforming the most powerful being in half the galaxy, and she definitely had no idea that her casual comments about leadership and power were being carefully considered by someone who ruled over 400 worlds. Winter semester brought exciting news for Maya. She had been selected for the most competitive graduate program in xenoanthropology. The program was located on the capital world of the Draconic Empire, and only 5 students from across the galaxy were chosen each year. Maya could barely contain her excitement as she told Drac the news during their Thursday meeting. "It's everything I've worked for," she said, practically bouncing in her seat. "I'll be studying governmental structures across different species, with special focus on long-lived rulers and their societies. The professors there have access to archives going back thousands of years." "This opportunity pleases you greatly," Drac observed, though his voice sounded strangely flat. "Are you kidding? It's incredible. The program even includes a ceremonial audience with the Dragon Emperor himself. Can you imagine? Me meeting the most powerful being in the galaxy. I have no idea what I would even say to someone like that." Maya was too excited to notice the long silence from Drac's booth. "And what would you wish to say to such a being?" Drac asked finally. Maya considered this seriously. "I guess I'd want to know if the legends are true. If he really is as wise and just as the stories say. If ruling for so long has made him cold and distant, or if he still cares about individual people. I'd want to understand how someone carries that much responsibility without losing their soul. And if he had lost his soul, then I'd feel sorry for him," Maya said without hesitation. "Imagine being that powerful and that alone. What's the point of ruling the galaxy if you can't connect with the people in it?" That afternoon, Drac left earlier than usual. Maya waited for over an hour, growing worried when he didn't return. This was the first time in months that he had missed one of their meetings without explanation. When Tuesday came, Maya arrived at the cafe, nervous about whether Drac would show up. She ordered her latte and tried to focus on her homework, but kept listening for familiar footsteps. Drac arrived an hour late. His movements seemed heavier than usual, and Maya heard hesitation in his voice when he greeted her. "Maya," he began carefully, "I must tell you something important. Our friendship has become precious to me, more precious than you could understand, but it was built upon an omission that I fear makes it false." Maya felt her stomach clench with worry. "What kind of omission?" "I am not who you believe me to be. My true identity, it would change everything between us." Maya set down her coffee cup and turned toward his booth. "Drac, you've been honest about the things that matter. Your thoughts, your feelings, your character. Those are what I know about you, and those are what our friendship is built on. Unless you've been lying about being a decent person, I can't imagine your identity mattering more than who you actually are. You say this now, but you do not know. Then tell me, Maya said firmly. Whatever it is, we can work through it. You're my friend, Drac. That doesn't change because of some secret about your past or your job. The silence stretched so long that Maya wondered if Drac had somehow left without her hearing. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made her heart race. Maya Rodriguez, he said formally. I am Emperor Dracmor Theragon, third of the Flame Dynasty, ruler of the Draconic territories, and sovereign over 412 inhabited worlds. Maya felt the world tilt around her. Her mind reeled as months of conversation suddenly made terrible sense. The vast knowledge, the careful way he spoke about politics, the loneliness she had heard in his voice, the way other customers grew quiet when he entered, the formal speech patterns, the metaphors about duty and inherited responsibility. You're serious, she said finally. It wasn't a question. I understand if you wish to end our friendship, Dracmor said, his voice returning to the careful formality she remembered from their first meeting. I understand if you feel I deceived you. I understand if my presence makes you uncomfortable now that you know what I am. Maya sat in stunned silence for several minutes. The Dragon Emperor. She had been having coffee with the Dragon Emperor for months. She had argued with him about literature. She had teased him about his drink choices. She had told him he sounded tired and lonely. Oh my God, she whispered. I told you the Emperor must be isolated and lonely. You did. I said he probably needed someone to talk to. You did. Lectured you about power and responsibility. You offered wisdom I had not heard in centuries, Dracmor said quietly. Maya put her head in her hands. I can't believe this. I've been giving life advice to the ruler of half the galaxy. You must think I'm the most presumptuous human who ever lived. I think, Dracmor said carefully, that you are the wisest person I have ever known. Maya looked up sharply, though she still couldn't see him. What? You saw through power to the person beneath. You offered friendship without agenda. You spoke truth without fear. You treated an emperor as simply another being worthy of kindness and respect. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. But I didn't know exactly, Dracmor said, his voice growing stronger. You didn't know, so you treated me as I have not been treated in 3,000 years. You saw me as Drac, not as the Dragon Emperor. You cared about my thoughts and feelings, not my power or position. You're the same person, Maya said slowly, working through her emotions. You're still my friend who helped me with my homework and listened to me complain about my professors. You still laugh at my terrible jokes about academic politics. I feared you would see only the throne and the title. Maya was quiet for a long moment thinking. Finally, she spoke with growing conviction. Drac, you're still the person who remembers what loneliness feels like. You still care about justice and wisdom over power. The fact that you happen to rule a galactic empire doesn't change that you're thoughtful and kind and surprisingly funny for someone who's thousands of years old. You would continue our friendship? Knowing what I am? Knowing who you are, Maya corrected gently. And yes, absolutely. Though I do have some questions about that graduate program. Dracmor made a sound that might have been relief or amazement. The program is legitimate. Your selection was based entirely on merit. I had no involvement in the decision. Good, Maya said. Because I'd hate to think I got in just because I'm friends with the Emperor. You earned your place through exceptional academic work, Dracmor assured her. Though I confess I am pleased you will be studying in my capital. Perhaps we might continue our conversations. Maya smiled, feeling the weight of shock beginning to lift. I'd like that. Though you realize I'm still going to argue with you when I think you're wrong about something. I would be disappointed if you did not, Dracmor said, and Maya could hear the smile in his voice. And I'm still calling you Drac. Emperor Dracmor is way too formal for coffee shop conversations. I prefer Drac, he admitted. It has been many centuries since anyone used a name rather than a title. Maya reached across the space between their booths. After a moment, something large and warm and scaled gently touched her fingers. Thank you, Dracmor said quietly, for seeing me as simply myself. Thank you, Maya replied, for trusting me with the truth. As they sat together in comfortable silence, Maya realized that their friendship had just become something completely unprecedented in galactic history. A blind human student and the Dragon Emperor, connected by nothing more than honest conversation and mutual respect. She had no idea how this would change both of their lives, but she was excited to find out. The weeks following Drakmore's revelation brought adjustments for both Maya and the Dragon Emperor. Their friendship continued, but now with complete honesty between them. Maya still arrived at Cosmic Grounds every Tuesday and Thursday. Drakmore still waited in his usual booth, but now their conversations carried new depth and understanding. "I have to ask," Maya said during their first meeting after the truth came out, "do you really need to travel for work? Or was that just a creative way to avoid lying?" "I do travel extensively," Drakmore replied with what sounded like amusement. "Managing an empire requires constant movement between worlds. Though I admit I have been spending more time on this particular world than necessary. Because of our coffee meetings? Because of our friendship," Drakmore corrected gently. Maya had worried that knowing his identity would make their relationship awkward, but she discovered that Drakmore was still fundamentally the same person. He still listened to her academic struggles with patience. He still offered insights that helped her understand complex concepts. He still laughed at her jokes about professor behavior. The main difference was that Maya now understood the true source of his vast knowledge and deep loneliness. "How do you do it?" she asked one afternoon. "How do you make decisions that affect billions of lives without becoming overwhelmed?" "Very carefully," Drakmore said, "and with the help of advisors who understand that my power comes with equal responsibility. Each choice must be weighed against its consequences across time and space. But what about personal happiness? When do you get to just be yourself?" There was a long pause. "These past months with you have been the first time in centuries that I could simply exist without the weight of the throne. You gave me back a piece of myself I thought was lost." Maya felt the enormous responsibility of that statement. "That's a lot of pressure to put on a friendship." "Not pressure," Drakmore said quickly. "Gift. You showed me that beneath the Emperor, the Dragon, the Legend, there is still just me. Someone who enjoys discussing books and appreciates good coffee and values honest conversation." As Maya prepared for her departure to the capital world, their conversations took on new dimensions. Drakmore began sharing stories about his empire that no history book contained. He told her about the early days of his rule when he was younger and less certain. He described the weight of making decisions that would shape entire civilizations. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked. "The throne, the power, the responsibility?" "I regret the isolation it brings," Drakmore admitted. "I regret the fear I see in others' eyes. I regret that every relationship becomes political. Every conversation becomes agenda. Until now. What makes our friendship different? You need nothing from me except honest conversation. You fear nothing about me except perhaps my opinion of your academic work. You treat Emperor Drakmore and Drak as the same person because to you they are." Maya moved to the capital world in early spring. The transition was overwhelming at first. The imperial city was vast beyond anything she had ever imagined. Her new university was prestigious and demanding. The other students in her program came from the most elite families across the galaxy. But through it all, Maya knew she had one constant. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she would find her way to a small cafe near the university district. Drakmore would be waiting in a corner booth, ready to continue their conversations. The dynamic shifted slightly in the new environment. Other customers were more aware of who was sitting in the back booth, though they maintained respectful distance. Maya noticed that their conversations were conducted with slightly more privacy than before. "People here know who you are," Maya observed. "They do, but they also know that this is neutral ground. No one approaches with petitions or problems. This time belongs to us." Maya's academic work flourished with Drakmore's insights. Her papers on governmental systems and leadership dynamics impressed professors who had no idea their star student was being tutored by the subjects of her research. One particularly successful essay examined the psychological challenges faced by long-lived rulers. Maya wrote about the importance of maintaining connections to ordinary experience, the danger of isolation, and the need for honest advisors who could speak truth to power. "You realize you're writing about yourself?" Maya told Drakmore after receiving top marks on the paper. "I realize you understand me better than I understand myself sometimes," he replied. As the semester progressed, Maya began to see how their friendship was changing Drakmore's approach to ruling. He spoke of reforms he was considering, policies that would bring him closer to his people. He talked about establishing programs for direct communication with citizens across his empire. "You're thinking about ways to not be so isolated," Maya observed. "You taught me that connection is possible, even for someone in my position. If I can have one genuine friendship, perhaps I can build others. Just remember that most people aren't going to accidentally bump into you in a coffee shop," Maya teased. "You might have to work a little harder at it." The culmination of Maya's program included the promised audience with the Dragon Emperor. The ceremony was formal and magnificent, held in the vast throne room of the Imperial Palace. Maya wore her finest dress and followed protocol exactly as she had been taught. When her turn came to approach the throne, Maya walked forward with her guide dog, a recent addition that helped her navigate the capital's complex streets. She stopped at the designated distance and bowed as instructed. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said formally, "I am honored by this audience." Maya Rodriguez came the familiar deep voice, though now amplified by the acoustics of the Great Hall. "Your academic achievements have been noted throughout the Empire. Your insights into governmental systems show exceptional wisdom for one so young. Thank you, Your Imperial Majesty. I have been blessed with excellent teachers." "Indeed," Drakmor said, and Maya caught the hint of amusement in his tone that only she would recognize. "I trust your studies have prepared you well for your future endeavors. They have given me a deep appreciation for the challenges faced by those who carry great responsibility," Maya replied, playing along with the formal exchange while sending her own subtle message. "Wisdom beyond your years," Drakmor noted approvingly. "The Empire is strengthened by citizens of such character." After the ceremony, Maya was escorted to a smaller reception room where graduate students could speak informally with minor officials. She was surprised when an aide approached and quietly informed her that the Emperor had requested a private word. Maya was led to a comfortable study that felt much more like Drakmor than the intimidating throne room. He was waiting by a window, still in his formal robes but somehow seeming more like the friend she knew. "How did I do?" Maya asked with a grin. "Perfectly diplomatic," Drakmor replied, the warmth returning to his voice, "though I detected a note of teasing beneath your formal words. You started it with that wisdom beyond your years comment." Drakmor's laughter filled the room. "I have missed our easy conversations these past hours of ceremony. It's strange seeing you in full Emperor mode," Maya admitted. "You're more intimidating when you're trying to be. I am the same person you have coffee with twice a week. I know that. But now I understand why other people find you scary. All that power and authority. The formal voice, the massive throne. It's a lot. Yet it does not frighten you," Maya shrugged. "Hard to be scared of someone whose coffee order you know by heart." Their friendship continued as Maya completed her studies. She wrote her final thesis on leadership and connection, the human element in galactic governance. The paper argued that effective leadership required maintaining bonds with ordinary citizens, and that the greatest rulers were those who remembered what it felt like to be powerless. Maya had no idea that her thesis was being carefully studied by the highest levels of imperial government, or that several of her recommendations were already being quietly implemented across the empire. On her graduation day, Maya received the highest honors in her program. As she walked across the stage to receive her degree, she heard familiar applause from the dignitary section. Later, she would learn that the Dragon Emperor had attended her graduation ceremony, something unprecedented in the university's history. That evening, Maya made her way to their usual cafe one last time before returning to her home world. Drakmor was waiting as always. "So," she said, settling into her familiar booth, "how does it feel to have a thesis written about you?" "Enlightening," Drakmor replied, "though I believe you may have been too generous in your assessment of my character." "I just wrote what I observed," Maya said with a smile. "A lonely ruler who learned to trust again, who remembered how to be a friend and who became a better leader because of it. Pretty standard human story, really." "Human story? We're good at this stuff," Maya explained. "Humans have this stubborn habit of refusing to accept that things can't be better. We see someone sitting alone and we go talk to them. We find problems and we try to fix them. We make friends in the weirdest places and somehow change the galaxy one conversation at a time." Drakmor considered this. "I believe I understand why humans are so successful in galactic society, despite being relatively new to it. Because we're too stubborn to know when we're outmatched?" Maya suggested with a laugh.